Jadon Sancho's chances of moving to Juventus, decreasing, with move now on standby. It's growing increasingly unlikely that Manchester United forward Jadon Sancho will move to Juventus before the transfer window shuts, reports Gianluca Di Marzio. Sancho is a player Juventus are believed to be keen on adding to their ranks, especially after Federico Chiesa's switch to Liverpool. A report covered by the People's Person claimed that United and Juventus had struck a loan agreement with an obligation to buy Sancho at the end of the ongoing season. However, it seems that nothing has materialized yet and there is still some work to do before Sancho joins the Old Lady. Earlier today, it was pointed out how the Italian media struck a more negative tone with respect to Sancho's proposed move to Juventus. Initially, there was confidence that a transfer would get over the line, but it seems that the deal could collapse, something that has now been reiterated by Di Marzio. According to Di Marzio, the chances of seeing Sancho at Juventus are decreasing, amidst the club's difficulties in getting rid of Arthur Melo and Filip Kostic. At the moment, however, the Sancho-Juventus operation is on standby, with the Bianconeri club being quite realistic in having residual possibilities at the moment of closing the operation positively. This is because the costs of the Sancho operation are considered too onerous. At the same time, Juventus would still be satisfied to close the market like this, after a great transfer campaign conducted in this summer session. Furthermore, it must be taken into account that the departures of Kostic and Arthur, two of the players who ended up on the fringes of the Juventus project, are not materializing, and this is further holding back the Bianconeri. Di Marzio himself revealed that Arthur, who has returned to Turin following his loan spell at Fiorentina, is attracting interest from Greek club PAOK, but he is reluctant to accept their proposal. Meanwhile, Kostic is wanted by Premier League club Southampton, but the Serbia international is unwilling to part ways with Juventus. The other team in for Sancho is Chelsea, with a swap deal involving Raheem Sterling thought to be on the cards. Sancho's preference would be to sign for the Blues ahead of Juventus. Ivan Toney would fit in well at Manchester United, according to Alan Shearer. Toney is a player in demand with the transfer window coming to a close this weekend, with the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea linked to the Brentford striker. Additionally, Saudi Pro League side Al Ahly have been reportedly interested in acquiring the 28-year-old with the promise of a large salary for the England international. However, Shearer doesn't think Toney should leave the Premier League at this stage of his career. And if a deal cannot be struck with Chelsea or Arsenal, Shearer believes Toney should consider heading to Old Trafford. "I like Ivan Toney," Shearer told Betfair. "I think he can do a really good job for someone, he's an excellent player. Obviously, he knows the Premier League, he knows what it's about, and he's proven at that level. He's an England international too. He only has 1 year left on his contract, and I understand why some players would want to go to Saudi Arabia, but for someone like him who's in the prime of his career, he's got another 4 or 5 years ahead of him, and I would hope that he stays in English football because I think he has a lot to offer. I am slightly surprised that Man United haven't inquired about him. Maybe they have, maybe there's something brewing behind the scenes that we don't know about, but I think he did pretty well at Old Trafford. I thought they were poor in forward areas against Brighton and without Rasmus Højlund. I know they've signed Joshua Zirkzee, but they're playing Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount as two false nines, and up to now, I'm not sure that's worked for them. They got the goal from Zirkzee against Fulham and then just the one last week, so it hasn't quite clicked for them yet in forward positions, and I think Ivan Toney would be a really good option for them." It is often said that in every crisis, there is an opportunity, but the injury crisis for Manchester United last season became so big even those opportunities were in the physio room. Unfortunately, this season has started on a similar note at Old Trafford with respect to injury issues, with Erik ten Hag starting multiple men down even before a competitive ball was kicked. The latest Mason Mount injury becomes the first issue picked up in a competitive game after Harry Maguire started versus Brighton despite coming off versus Fulham. Fortunately, though, the situation hasn't reached a breaking point yet where ten Hag can't fix things. In fact, Mount's injury could finally force him to make a change that makes the whole team better. A Mount-ing problem. Erik ten Hag started this season with a strikerless system where 4 midfielders start behind 2 wingers who are encouraged to cut inside. It allowed Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, 2 extremely hard workers, to press the opposition during their build-up and create high turnovers. Every team they came up against had trouble too, as United regularly managed to win the ball high up and create chances. In fact, when Mount came off versus Brighton, their high press fell apart to an extent as Fernandes was left chasing shadows often. However, the presence of Mount comes at a huge cost. That is because he hasn't done much else apart from pressing like a maniac. He doesn't have the pace of Marcus Rashford, the trickery of Ahmad, or the invention and creativity of Bruno Fernandes. Furthermore, he doesn't have the defensive solidity to accompany Kobbie Mainoo in the 2 deeper midfield roles either, for which Manuel Ugarte has arrived anyway. This led to United looking toothless in attack. In the first 2 games, they created numerous chances but wasted most of them, with Mount missing a glaring one versus Fulham too. Still, Ten Hag looked committed to this system, but Mount's injury will take that decision off his hands. A blessing in disguise. First things first, nobody will think that Manchester United are better off with Mount injured. He is a unique player whose skill set isn't replicated by any other player in the current squad. Having said that, it is not the skill set United need right now. Mount is best served as a squad player to give fresh legs to the team late in games. With Mount's injury and Manuel Ugarte's arrival, the game versus Liverpool should be the true start of the new era at United. A natural striker should come in, Joshua Zirkzee, and the split striker system should be dropped to go back to a 4-2-3-1 which will restore Bruno Fernandes to the position he thrives in. No. 10. If Ugarte is deemed fit to start, then his position in the pivot alongside Mainoo makes perfect sense, especially if Lisandro Martinez starts with Matthijs de Ligt in defense to relieve Ugarte of ball-playing duties. So far, Ten Hag has resisted the urge to throw in his new signings, with only Noussair Mazraoui being trusted and the 2 out of necessity. It's time for the manager to take the breaks away and insert the players brought to improve the team. Mount's injury should be the spark that lights the fire. According to reports, Manchester United are, desperately, trying to offload England international Jadon Sancho amid interest from Chelsea. Sancho slipped down the pecking order last season after butting heads with Man Utd head coach Erik ten Hag. The winger refused to apologize after accusing the Dutchman of making him a scapegoat. This followed his omission from Man Utd's squad to face Arsenal last September. The 24-year-old has struggled to live up to expectations following his move to Man Utd from Borussia Dortmund in 2021 for around £73 million. Sancho was sent back to Dortmund on loan during this year's winter transfer window and he impressed during the run-in as they surpassed expectations to reach the Champions League final. The Englishman was given a lifeline by Ten Hag at the start of this summer as he featured heavily for Man Utd during preseason, but he has not been involved in their first 2 Premier League games of the 2024-25 campaign. In recent days, Chelsea and Juventus have been battling for Sancho's signature, but it remains to be seen whether he will leave Man Utd before the transfer window closes on Friday night. On Thursday evening, transfer expert Fabrizio Romano took to social media to confirm that Chelsea and Juventus remain in talks with Man Utd over signing Sancho. He said, "Chelsea are currently talking to Man United for Jadon Sancho in a separate deal from Victor Osimhen. Both deals are still being negotiated, while Al Ahly have met with Osimhen's agents today in Italy." Despite this, a report from Give Me Sport claims, Sancho has been offered to Borussia Dortmund during the final hours of the summer transfer window as the Old Trafford hierarchy are eager to get him off the wage bill. Dortmund have been handed the opportunity to recruit Sancho for a 3rd time, according to GMS sources, and the Bundesliga heavyweights are considering putting together a last-minute rescue package if he is still available on deadline day and is desperately seeking a fresh challenge away from Manchester United. GMS sources have been informed that Sancho has been pushed into Dortmund's direction during the final days of the transfer window as Manchester United are desperate to find a last-gasp solution as they aim to get him off their books, and his former employers are interested in pouncing. Manchester United has had several injury issues and has insignificant depth at left back with injuries to Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia. The Red Devils' new summer signing Noussair Mazraoui can be deployed on both sides of defence with Diogo Dalot also capable. Manchester United had been rumoured to be looking at a left back this summer, however, it looks increasingly likely that the club will not purchase a fullback before the deadline. Thus far Erik ten Hag has opted for Dalot as a left back with Mazraoui on the right side of defence. Youngster Harry Amas impressed during the preseason tour and is expected to be introduced into the first-team action through the course of the season. Tyrell Malacia steps up recovery with return to training. Tyrell Malacia has been spotted in training as the Dutch fullback aims to continue his rehabilitation from a long absence with different knee injuries. Malacia was spotted in training in a video posted on Reddit. The former Feyenoord defender was spotted doing individual training as he steps up his recovery. The defender aims to improve his fitness to return to full team training soon and force his way back into the manager's thoughts. Malacia could offer a new option for Ten Hag's defense. Malacia was the first player purchased in the Ten Hag era and had an impressive first campaign. However, the Dutch defender struggled with injuries and has not played for the Red Devils since he faced Fulham on 28 May 2023. With Luke Shaw commonly facing injury issues, Malacia will be hoping he can return to fitness and push to be an option in the squad this campaign. He showed during his first season that he is capable of playing Ten Hag's style of play and will be a good option to have in the squad later in the season.